Okay, so this isn't my usual setup for the ZEZTZ reviews, but I've been doing some moving around lately, so I can't do reviews in a static spot right now, so voice will just have to do. But this is going to be a catch-up for episodes 3 and 4 of Kamen Rider ZEZTZ. 3 was the conclusion to the Mad Bomber mystery that was set up in episode 1, where the police officer from the Paranormal Division was revealed to be the Dreamer, and the destruction that he causes in his dreams translates to the real world where the police station is taking damage. And Baku spends most of the episode trying to save him, but then his third mind door opens, which releases the nightmare into the real world, and Baku has to be willed out in his sleep, mind you, by his bike, which is called Zero, by the way. And for the first time ever, we get a henshin sequence outside of a dream sequence, and a pretty sweet fight scene to follow. He makes the most use of his transform capsule and uses it to cut the wire and disarm the bomb inside the nightmare. He then proceeds to finish him off and save Mr. Policeman, whose name I have still not memorized. I am so sorry. And our hero rides off into the sunset with a newfound resolve. At least that's how it comes off. So episode 3 was a good way to cap off what's technically the first arc of the show. It's where we get all the setup, all the character introductions, at least for now, and exposition as to kind of how the writer technology and the villains operate. And so far, I like Baku as a protagonist. He's not too goofy, not overly serious, he's just kind of normal. And he hits the right emotions when he needs to. And there's a good example of that in episode 3 when I get to it. But up to this point, we've seen that he has this determination to save those in need, and just has the hero's heart. Now, episode 4 is the start of a brand new case where, in the dream world, there's this bride that's being stalked by a former childhood friend. And it's Baku's mission to protect the VIP bride, as she's called. It is also here where we get our first look at the opening, and the song is very J-poppy, so to speak, and that's a good thing, because it does have a certain cool factor to it. But the visuals, while very trippy, I don't know if it quite fits the song. At least the parts where it's not trippy, where the actors are on location, and they're kind of doing shenanigans. Am I making sense here? Probably not. Anyway, when Baku wakes up, he goes to meet with Zero, and he explains the current situation with the bride to Zero, and Zero suspects that the Dreamer might have been infected from the bomber incident in the previous episode. And Baku begins to doubt himself, believing that he's the one responsible for letting the nightmare escape from the dream and causing all of this. And this is what I meant by my previous point of he hits the right emotions when he needs to. But after a minute of sulking, Zero reassures him that if he puts his mind to it, he can be the real agent that he wants to be. Now, over at the Paranormal Affairs Department, which I forgot to mention in episode 3 had been shut down by the police chief, and was the cause of Mr. Policeman's crash out, it's somewhat being reinstated here, but in a somewhat unofficial capacity, and their job is to find evidence of the nightmare's existence. Meanwhile, Baku sees the man who he believes to be the Dreamer just out and about. He proceeds to eavesdrop and finds out that this guy has an unrequited love for the bride, and he's not so sure that the man she's marrying is the one that she wants to be with. But his friends reassure him like, hey, this dude's rich, like you kinda can't compete with that. And then Baku takes this intel back to Zero. Later that night, in his dream, Baku takes his position once again as the Reverend at the wedding. And that's when our nightmare wedding crasher shows up. Not the same guy from last time, but a bird monster instead. And that's when Baku transforms and we get our end of episode fight. Now at first, the choreography inside the church is a bit lackluster, but things pick up once they take things outside. And following behind them, where I'm assuming this is the real world, the two paranormal police find crow feathers in the church where Baku had just left, implying once again that the dream is in fact affecting the real world. Now back at the fight, our crow nightmare manages to turn the setting upside down, where only the bride falls from the church and one of her mind doors open, and it looks like there's only 2 this time as opposed to 3. But the nightmare tells us that whatever just happened, this is the nightmare that the Dreamer does in fact fear, and it pretty much reveals the bride to be the Dreamer. So this is where the episode ends, but my theory is that she's in some kind of arranged marriage to whoever this rich guy may be, but she still has feelings for this childhood friend of hers, which makes the most sense right now given that he's not the Dreamer. Now, what his further involvement may be, I don't really know, but we'll just have to wait till the next episode. But as for my thoughts, I don't really know if I want to say my final thoughts until we kind of see the conclusion of this case. But I will say there is a decent mystery set up here, and I can't wait to see what becomes of this whole bride situation, to see what her deal is. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end it here, so as always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.